Welcome everybody to another episode of the EuroShow. I'm here with our usual panel, Caleb Ariana. Hey, Caleb.
Hey guys, I was actually summoned.
Yes, he was actually summoned. I wasn't actually expecting you to get to be up and you know within at a decent sort of frame of decent state of mind for today's show, but it seems like you turned it around like pretty quick, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I've just been coughing a lot because of the dust in my building, so that's awesome.
Oh, that sucks, man. And also, along with Caleb, we have Dr. Spodemain. Hey, Spod, how you doing?
Hello. As chat's just learned, if you say slots 3 times really quickly, Caleb appears.
Yeah.
Yeah, my spirit and or ghost, at least.
So if you guys thought, you guys may have thought that you missed us like on Tuesday, but in actual fact, no, you haven't. Like, it's kind of my fault to some degree. I have a lot of IRL stuff that I need to get done during the week, and so because of that, essentially what we're doing is we're kind of like, you know, taking the shows down to 1 a week. So it's going to be on Fridays, you know, until that changes, but it will be Fridays up until the point where we ramp back up to Tuesdays and Fridays. So
you should just say that we're only going to do it if we get the same view numbers as the regular shows, and then everyone will start creating robo viewers and shit.
Oh, you're getting into the topics already, man. Like, just chill.
No,
I'm
foreshadowing. It's foreshadowing.
Okay, it's foreshadowing. You're foreshadowing. All right. Anyway. Right, just a little quick kind of thing back to our last episode. What we covered in the last episode was it was basically a mega episode, all about loot boxes and all about gambling. You know, there was a big report that came out that you know, essentially slammed loot boxes, and said, you know, detailed how bad gambling has gotten inside of the gaming industry. So, you know, that's kind of what we covered like last episode. This episode, we're going to start with the Columbia Police using the EVE Online character editor to make mugshots.
Yeah, this is McLeod didn't think that it was scary enough to potentially trigger the mobs in the world, so now he wants to piggyback and tiptoe into Colombian cartels.
Yes, yeah, you know, as you do. But this is no joke. This is not like some kind of, like, you know, random thing, like random sort of like you know, it isn't an Eve Onion article, let's put it this way, right? This is legit. They are actually using the editor.
It's kind of funny because anyone that's been looking at any old school police procedural shows and stuff like that from back when composite images were made with these strips that you put together, and it never really looked like a real face. And then of course you have sketch artists, and sketch artists are a little bit I don't know, at times maybe overly creative or trying to be so vague that, yeah, okay, that looks a little bit like a personal and human face. But now with all these character creators we have in so many games, this is actually a valid thing to do. Use these things to actually do the models, and it will, of course, there's a little bit of uncanny valley still, but it is still better than some of the tech that we used to have. And it's funny that it's the Eve character creator.
I know, right?
Because we have talked so much about how the Carbon Engine and CCP were ahead of their time, right? And I think this just proves it.
So there's like a section of the video. I'll see if I can play. Ah, crap! Like, so that's kind of, yeah, it's an awkward little video player, but like, Spod was able to capture and get a good kind of screenshot of it. There you go. And you can kind of tell that the left and right one, the far left and far right one, are very much sort of Eve caricatures, or sort of like, you know, Eve Online in-game characters.
Can I just say that I find it a little bit sad that it didn't end up being characters that actually look more like famous Eve characters, because that would have been hilarious.
I was wondering
if Willy was suddenly wanted in Colombia.
I was wondering if they had like if they have like the mugshots in Eve like of like various Eve like notorious like criminals or like powerful power players kind of thing. Like, was this the person that touched you?
And if we had an actual Spanish localization, maybe there would even be real life reports coming in where people was saying that they had actually seen the Mitani, and if he was still wanted.
Oh, it'd be so hilarious if you actually found somebody who looked like the Mitani's character in game, but out like IRL.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what the hell?
We've seen him. He was just parked outside 1DQ, and the police were taking the report. Was going, where?
How did you find? But I just wanted to ask this because this is something that like randomly appeared because Spod posted it in our work channel. How the fuck did you find that of all things?
The secret is get good at Google.
His Google foo is at 11.
I was deep in the Google News archives, and that popped up.
I was there thinking to myself, like, how did you even find that? Like, I was just because I googled it as well. I was like, I googled like Colombia police use EVE Online character to find to find criminals. I didn't get anything. Like, so I was thinking, like,
almost all of the results are in Spanish. I think there's one that's in English. Just liberal use of quotation marks, and you'll get something eventually.
I do use quotation marks quite often, but damn,
we missed a trick. We should have just very carefully photoshopped one of them to be I don't know, one of us, Matrov maybe.
Oh, that would have been. Oh yeah, we did miss
Colombia
that
for drug smuggling.
We could have done that so easily. Oh.
Then we would have had to get Rix Rix to do his hat thing and put on a bandana.
So should have done that. Anyway, well, so if you didn't realize, yeah, exactly. If you didn't realize by now, the title for this episode of the EuroShow is about this, and it is just a bit of a joke. Like, essentially, what we thought was, wouldn't it be funny if all of the retention issues in EVE Online was down to the fact that all various different law enforcement agencies were constantly making new characters in EVE Online just for mugshots?
Well, you're talking about the actual birth rate stats being they might actually be off because it's being used as a police tool.
Yeah,
that would be a funny scenario. Well, hopefully they don't have millions of criminals, but who knows? It's Colombia, so.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that, maybe Colombia is going out saying that they're using it, but there may be other law enforcement agencies around the world that are doing exactly that, but just not saying so.
Well, maybe we should sit down and actually seriously do the Matterall thing, so we can get his Jesus Mataral character up, aka El Malo.
Well, on the serious side of why they're doing it, it's actually they go into detail in the article talking about how because the traditional way, which has been done for a bazillion years, is you sit down with the victim of the crime, and you basically draw with chalk what they describe to build a profile of the person. And they say that it used to take them 2 to 3 hours. Now they've got a specially trained person, also known as an EVE player, I imagine, who sits down with the victim this time, and it takes them less than half an hour to make a fully 3D, 90% accurate copy of their aggressor. It's genius, really, because now not only have you got the advantage of you've got a mugshot, you can sort of model what they look from the side, from the back, and things like that, so you can much easier to identify somebody.
Yeah,
I don't know if they mention whether they've actually busted anybody off of an EVE profile yet.
I don't think they don't specifically say in this article, but I don't know. We could probably have a few people out there that will dig in and use their Google foo and actually find articles about people
we
being
should do a
caught.
shout out to any Colombian players that might actually have any information and news about this. Please get it to us.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be cool.
It must be a player that came up with it, I'm sure. There's some Colombian player somewhere in some alliance that works for the police and just one day decided to screw around with it.
I find it just absolutely hilarious. Like, just the whole aspect of it is just insane. Anyway,
can you imagine if any of these ended up on the Interpol list of most wanted criminals?
Oh God, no!
That would be the funniest thing ever. If suddenly there was an Eve avatar on the Interpol most wanted list.
That would be really weird. Yeah, like let's not have that happening, Octoness, in chat. Anyway, we should probably move on to the next.
But one small thing, because it reminded me of a discussion that we had long ago, you and me, Mac, when I asked you if you could explain how come computer models requires about 600 bones to realistically do animations when the real world only have 300. Well, 300 in a baby and 207-ish in an adult.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that conversation. It did kind of go along the lines of, you can't really expect things in a game engine to move the way that you expect it to move, based on, the materials that it's meant to be sort of pretending to be, right? Like, so you have to kind of add all the additional kind of stuff to make muscle move the way you expect muscle to move in real life, that kind of thing. So that's why you have so many more kind of for want of a better term, so like bones in 3D models, as it were.
Well, it's just supporting Hilmer's otherwise slightly stupid comment with making games that are more real than real life. It's like, well, I think we're seeing this metaverse seepage happening. I'm just waiting for actual Eve players to get arrested.
You wait. There'll be cyber crimes where they'll only have the mugshots from games of people.
Yeah. So please, CCP, do not improve the character creator. Don't make it better and less uncanny valley, because then more nations might actually pick up on using the tool, and then we're going to have a massive problem.
I mean, look, there's a reason why they're using EVE Online, EVE Online's character editor rather than like Fortnite's character editor, right? So
the most important question is, what's the salary for being a professional EVE Online character creator?
This is true.
I think a more important
career I can go into.
There's a more important question here. Are they actually allowed to do this, IP wise?
I don't know. I mean, there might be something in that, but I think when it comes to, CCP's IP or the tools that CCP kind of creates for their IP, helping out in actually catching criminals, I think they'll be like, yeah, we can give that a pass, because that's positive rep for CCP and for EVE Online, right?
And it has a massive problem where, and this is trigger warning, there's a reason why this tool cannot really be used in the US and in China, because as far as I know, the current EVE character creator is not very good at racial stuff. So it's not very good at making, colored people or people with Chinese facial features. So maybe we could use this tool to reduce the racial profiling.
Yes, that would be really useful, actually. Anyway,
It's also not very good at doing the extremes of fat and thin.
That is true. So it will not work in America.
No, that's true. I have tried and failed, just so you know. Anyway, we should probably move on to the next topic, which is that Twitch is currently kicking ass when it comes to all the different streaming platforms at the moment, regarding sort of growth rates.
That's crazy numbers. They've been growing they've basically shot ballistic on all their stats.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you found out that this needs to be corrected a little bit.
Yeah. So this is one of those things which kind of like it put me in mind of EVE players, and sort of also put me in mind of like, you know, how EVE players kind of like min-max and then, you know, use things to their advantage up until the point where it gets banned or they basically nerfed to hell, right? And so, you know, Twitch, like, you know, skyrocketing in terms of growth, right? You know, basically leaving YouTube and Facebook sort of streaming and that kind of thing, like in its dust, essentially, right? But
Yeah,
Twitch, but Twitch actually coming out on Twitter to say that they're monitoring the rise of fake engagement. I don't know what is it, 7.5 million or 7.5 like
I don't
trillion. I'm not entirely certain what that is, but like
that it's millions.
I'm thinking that was a typo. I'm thinking the first M was a typo.
I'm pretty sure it's millimeters.
Yeah,
7.5 millimeters. It's almost 1 centimeter.
Yeah, almost like, you know, 3/4 of a centimeter of accounts. 7.5 million plus accounts that are breaking their terms of service by using botting to follow and to view, you know, streams. I thought
By
was
that,
just...
do they mean 7.5 million streamers are using these bots to make themselves look better, or there are 7.5 million bots?
I think it's the number of actual bots that they either suspect are being used or have been speculated to be used.
I think those are the accounts that are used to you know, used and controlled by bots to follow and to view other streams. Not actual, so it's not 7.5 million streamers, like it's 7.5 million accounts on Twitch that are being used to view streams.
The bot farms that they have caught is around 7.5 million accounts, but that's basically just the bots. So this is the ones that they have removed, are going to remove, right?
I don't even want to know how much RAM usage that takes up on Chrome.
I think more importantly, Mac, I don't know if you noticed that, but if you read the wording, it looks like they haven't actually banned them yet and aren't necessarily going to.
I mean, that's true, because it's helping them, you know, beat Facebook and
Exactly.
YouTube gaming right now.
It's popping up their stats. It's a little bit like what I think we have touched upon a little bit when it comes to EVE Online. I think there's a lot of bots that CCP are not wanting to ban at the moment, or at least not do an unholy rage, because it could tank their numbers massively. And I think it's the same here with Twitch, because they've had this massive success in viewers, and because there's so many people that are now speculating and gaming the system. This also benefits them and their market shares, right? Of course, you forgot to mention that one of the reasons that Twitch has been growing like this is massively not because of gaming. It's actually because of the more soft topics and non-gaming. Because just like the topic that's just chatting, which is everything from girls sleeping to body paint and weird things like that, that is actually almost half of their viewer base right now.
Yeah. It's basically anything that's not quite OnlyFans, but like very bloody close.
Yeah, it's soft core porn streaming, really.
Yeah, there's some quite popular like politics streams and whatever else.
Yeah,
I mean, I am joking a little bit there, like when I say that, like there's a lot
also,
there.
Watching sports and things like that, but considering that it was a gaming platform, and when the gaming news relays this, that they are talking about this mostly from a gaming streamer perspective, right? And that's just not the case with Twitch anymore. It's grown beyond that. And I think Mac and I were talking about how maybe this sort of dirty casuals is exactly what EVE actually needs.
Back when it was Justin TV, was it gaming focused? I don't remember.
No, it wasn't just gaming focused. It was it was all sorts of things, because people were getting away with a lot of stuff on Justin TV when it was back in that day, like, and not getting banned about it.
Yeah, I was just wondering what was like the original what was it marketed as originally? Because game streaming back then was doable but difficult because you required.
I think it was basically vlogging.
PC blown up.
I think it was basically like live vlogging, kind of. I think Justin TV was mostly like live vlogging, that sort of stuff. I'm not sure. I do recall that kind of conversation happening at some point when I'm overhearing about it. But yeah, I think I do know that Justin TV wasn't, before it was Twitch, wasn't, entirely gaming related. It wasn't laser focused on gaming, if anything. But a little interesting kind of topic. But we will move on to the next kind of little bite-sized kind of topic, which
I do want us to cover the whole weirdness of streaming at some point in detail, and talk about all the ASMR stuff and hot tubs on stream and stretching and body paint and what's her face, the one with Tourette's. There's just so many weird phenomena on Twitch. That's amazing.
There is some very strange and colorful characters on Twitch. In all various different types. Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll definitely get to it on a show, for sure. Well, we shall move on because there is someone potentially taking a pretty sizable broadside shot across CCP London's bow. Because it seems that PUBG Studio might be making an open world sci-fi shooter.
Yay! Competition with Eve's. What was it? What was the phrase? Game-breaking design.
Genre-defining.
Genre-defining shooter. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and the kind of the concern that I have for CCP is that we're not talking about a small developer here, and we're not talking about a developer that has no experience in this kind of this area of gaming. We're talking about somebody who, a company that basically made one of the most famous battle royale shooters, and a company that is currently making more money. Oh God, is it like more money per month than CCP was, valued at?
That does not surprise me.
And worse than that as well is like something that happened literally that sort of came in onto my sort of RSS feed. I think it was only today. I'm not entirely certain. Yeah, it was Friday 16th. PUBG's parent company, Crafton, is applying for an IPO. So they're literally going like, we're gonna get even more money. And they're probably going to be sort of, I don't know, like, what do you think that's, what do you think that
do you really
particular thing is for? Like,
do you want to take us down the IPO topic, really? Do you think that's a good idea, Mac? Well, you can of course say tell Stream that I have no idea how IPOs work.
Yeah, I have absolute confidence that when I said you have no idea how IPOs work, that you redoubled your effort and intimately what how IPOs work and what they're for. Okay,
well, I'm just having a massive flashback because I think way back in the past when there was really big problems with the current owners of CCP, I kept screaming that the CCP desperately needed to do an actual IPO and become a publicly traded company. I still think that would have been a better idea than what happened. But maybe the finances back then didn't look as good as they would need to do to be able to do an IPO. But this is definitely a strong move, and it's going to, if they have a product like this coming up, this is going to be a really good IPO. It's going to be really high valued, and if they succeed with this, they're going to get a ton of money to actually realize some of these ideas.
Yeah, so and that was kind of like what I wanted to ask about this was, if they're applying for an IPO, Like, are they going to be turning that money around and pushing it into projects that they have?
Yeah, of course. That's the main reason, right? They want to get massively liquid, and they want to get valued really high to also have a lot of internal value to the brand, which of course means that they have a massively higher credit rating in general, so they can generate a lot of liquids just on the IPO alone, and then after that, if they can keep that growth running, then they can also just get credit line for whatever they can dream up. They're going to be really strong when it comes to liquids and hiring new people and actually rolling out projects like this.
Yeah, and so that was kind of like what really kind of tipped the really tipped me off in terms of like this, initially this, the PUBG sort of making an open world potentially making an open world sci-fi shooter was like, if that wasn't sort of like a shot across CCP's bow enough, like this like IPO offer application for an initial public offering, like, is just like so much, like just adds so much more weight, so much more potential to this new particular IP that that PUBG Corp kind of wants to do.
Yeah, and if you just check the actual number of the valuation, it's like bonkers, right?
17.9 billion. Like, whew, holy God. Yeah.
All from a company that has one game.
Well, they have one. Yeah, they have one game in two different ways, like PUBG and PUBG Mobile. Really, that's pretty much it. Like,
but again, if you go back and look at something like the Twitch numbers, right? In my opinion, of course, you can always do the actual sales of games and compare those, because of course that's a massive part of the gaming economy. But when you're talking about longevity and long-term games like World of Warcraft, like EVE Online, like some of the shooters, right? These games, you get the best info and data by actually looking at something like streaming. How many people are so dedicated that they want to share their gaming experience, and how many are so dedicated that they want to watch that vicariously from other people? So I think doing something like just checking what Twitch is actually streaming is a really strong indicator of what games are highly valued, and PUBG is definitely high on that list.
Oh yeah, for sure. So just so like the guys in watching at this moment, and anybody who's watching the VOD back kind of thing, if you don't quite get the sort of comparison that we're kind of doing between PUBG making a sci-fi shooter and EVE, it's because EVE is developing a shooter that they claim is genre defining in London. So they're making a new IP, but it's still based in the EVE universe at the moment in London. And this is basically this is a direct competitor to them, pretty much. That particular studio is being headed up by a guy called Adrian Blunt. That's the dude in the picture. And that's a tweet from CCP yesterday, I believe. Yeah. Basically from Adrian Blunt, who's the studio director, saying, talking about, essentially how he felt when he played the latest iteration of their what they're developing in London. I would say that what they have developed in London and what this particular quote is from is not the thing that we saw and the thing that people played at was it EVE Vegas? I can't remember whether it was EVE Vegas or whether it was or was it EVE Down Under maybe. But basically there was a kind of like a different shooter that was Project Nova, right? And it seemed to be very much like a very generic kind of shooter, sort of like sci-fi shooter kind of thing. They specifically said that the feedback that they got was not at the level that they felt was good enough for.
Let let's just make everyone safe. This is a PC title.
Yes, this is a PC title.
It's not or maybe it's a PC title. It has already been announced. This is a PC title.
Yeah.
It might actually be ported eventually to other platforms like the consoles, but it's natively going to be a PC third-person shooter.
Yeah, I'm just quickly finding the sort of bit where they said, where they're literally talking about like the feedback that they got. Yeah, I mean, here we go. So they said, so this is the kind of bit. This is the bit that I was looking for. So over the course of Project Nova's development, we conducted a number of player research sessions with external partners, tirelessly playtesting the game internally, and brought community stalwarts in to help us evaluate the project. After taking all the research and feedback into account, and that also includes the feedback from, sort of some of the player meets where people were able to play Project Nova. And that's where hang on a second. And that's where you get some of the online kind of like some of the online sort of gameplay footage of Project Nova. But what they basically said, after taking all this research and feedback into account, we saw that the gameplay experience of its hands-on demo did not live up to the original vision and would not achieve the ambitious goals for the project. And that's the reason why the name Project Nova and like, what that name and how that name was tied on to the sort of like the hands-on demo that people played was ditched, because they were basically taking the ideas all the way back to the conceptual stage and like redesigning it.
Yeah, and then of course I have a massive issue with the fact that they've gone through all these old names and now they're announcing a title. They're announcing a game without a title. It's like, come on, CCP, at least give it a working title so we can talk about this.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is really messy. You have publicly allowed the lead of this project to come out and talk to journalists, but the thing does not have a working title yet. And the second thing I'm really a little bit frustrated about is when you have something like this, you should make sure that some of the actual existing EVE Online player community is also invited into your focus groups. It's fine that you have these old Dust veterans, but many of those are, of course, cross-representing EVE Online. But to spread this, maybe you should talk to other known FPS or shooter players.
I was going to come to that in actual fact, because like a lot of people may be like, oh, who is this Adrian Blunt dude? And obviously, he is the studio director at CCP London, right? So he is going to be, he is going to, obviously hype, the projects that they have, maybe a little bit more so than needs to be. But if you want to know, who Adrian Blunt is, like he's basically worked on Gears 5, the game Gears 5, Halo, the Master Chief Collection. He's worked on Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, FIFA 09, Burnout. He's done Gears of War 4. He's been on a team that's kind of dealt with like Outriders and Dirty Bomb as well. So like, he does have some experience in terms of, like decent shooter games and like where the sort of quality lies and like how something developed like by CCP would, sort of seem comparatively to, the games out there already.
Yeah, and we're going to ignore the fact that he's worked on a FIFA title and just not talk about that, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's going to be much football being done in CCP's new shooter. So,
Hey, you never know.
I could be wrong. Yeah, there could be a mini game in it. Like, you might be able to kick grenades back to people. Like, I don't know.
Oh, grenade football? That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would actually be a great feature. See, that would be genre defining, right? A shooter like this where you can actually kick grenades and you can kick them with precision. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, grenade keep you uppy. as you do.
Hot potato, as they call it.
Yeah, that's a very hot potato in actual fact. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break now. We'll come back for the next section of the show, but stay tuned. We'll be back after a few of these adverts. Hey, and we're back, guys. Thank you for sticking with us. We did roll some Twitch ads. Yes, if you're not a subscriber of the show, you probably would have seen those Twitch ads. What that does, by the way, is that gives people coming to the show, like, they don't have to sit through adverts before they start to watch the show. That's the idea of the running ads, like purposefully running ads in the show. Anyway, on to the second part of the show, the slightly heavier kind of section part of the show, where we are actually going to be talking about data breaches and leaks. Specifically, Facebook lost 500 million users' data from a leak that ended up in, I think, on the dark web being sold.
Was it Facebook?
Yes, it was Facebook. This was a little while ago, but essentially what happened was it's kind of come back into the news because of the severity and the amount. It is pretty insane.
Yeah. The actual data comes from about 1.5 years ago, but it was only recently distributed publicly.
Yeah. Let me just find the article about it.
Well, there was also the LinkedIn data, right?
Yeah, well, the LinkedIn data is a little bit different because the Facebook data is actually data that was meant to be private, and through a security vulnerability, hackers and nefarious types were able to grab like 500 million users worth of private data. Whereas the LinkedIn stuff is just like, it's basically data scraping. It's public data on like available on the LinkedIn profiles, but like they were able to find a way of basically scraping a whole ton of data very quickly off the site, and selling it. And so that's the Forbes article about Facebook under investigation for massive data leak. If I can actually speak correctly, that'd be really handy. And the other one is this insider article saying hackers scrape data from 500 million LinkedIn users.
Facebook has been really, really kind of, what's the word, dismissive about it.
I mean, they always are.
Mostly public anyway, and we didn't inform the users, and just like, come on, guys, you have a basic level of responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And
I suppose they know.
Sorry, what was it?
I was going to say Facebook. How to say it without being a massive knob? Facebook and its user base are far more likely, if they got an email saying your private data has been leaked, to go, oh my God, the world is hacked. I need to delete everything. I think Facebook, the reason they may not have contacted their the users that were affected is because if anywhere is going to have like a mass panic kind of reaction to it, Facebook is going to be the place that would have the mass panic.
You're not wrong.
Wondering what type of data, because what is it actually that they've breached and downloaded, right? Because if this is only,
for the most part,
yeah, if it's only like a massively CSV file of usernames and passwords and addresses and stuff like that, of course it's a security issue, but I wouldn't call this a scary problem, right? Because this is something that is going on all the time, right? And this is basically hackers trying to get a hold of things that can improve their success rate when they are doing black hat hacker stuff, right? So sure,
Yeah.
it's risky, but we're not talking about someone scraping the entire picture and video database of Facebook and starting to do fake video footage and things like that, or massive voice recognition software so they can identify everyone in a second. I'm not that worried about these types of data breaches because they've been happening since the birth of the internet, and it's just more of the same. It's just on a bigger scale because now there's more people.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just that, for me, the problem with it is that massive I don't care from Facebook. You know, and yes, this data is not as risky as your passwords getting leaked, for example, but when they leak things like they have of birth dates, I think like hometowns, jobs, names, and phone numbers, most ordinary folk use some derivative of those pieces of information as passwords, for example. So for a lot of people, it's almost as good as having them. And if you're a particularly naughty person, you throw that database into your custom tool, push a button, wait 5 minutes, and it'll probably spit out a whole bunch of hundreds and hundreds of accounts.
Yeah.
So indirectly, it is a direct threat to accounts. And if you're silly enough to have Arsenal 1992 as your password, you're probably also silly enough to have that as your PayPal and your eBay and your Amazon and your Gmail, all of the same password. And now you're really, really in deep doo-doo.
So basically the technique that you're talking about is a technique called I believe where is it? Credential stuffing, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of credential stuffing and social engineering. You take things that you already know, and basically using. This is where sort of like the psychology part of hacking comes in, where you use the knowledge of the target to try and essentially guess their behavior, their passwords, and things like that.
Yeah. And essentially, what it is, like if they find information about you, passwords, and they can get into, say, something like your email, they can use that same password, in a variety of different websites that they know that you have accounts on. and essentially hope and pray that like you use that same password for all different emails and all different websites, and then are able to access a whole bunch of things.
But it also goes deeper than that. You can do things like, if I wanted to target you, for example, McLeod, and I knew your phone number, and I knew your like, say, job history, name, and maybe an address or two, I can call up your phone provider and say, "Hello, it's me, McLeod," and they'll ask me the security questions, which will be, "Where did you live? What's your phone number? This and that." And I've got those. I don't know your password, but I've got probably enough to blag, because you have to remember, this is the key flaw. The person on the other end of the phone answering or giving you these security questions, they can't be bothered. They don't want to be there. They just want you to get your support claim through and then piss off. So what you can do, you can abuse that by using the data that you have to convince them. In this example, I could get them to send me a new SIM card that's using your phone number in your name, and then now I can call your uncle and call him a knob, and then now you're in trouble.
Well, it's even worse.
Of course, I can do much nastier things than that.
Exactly, it's even worse than that. Like, and I'm glad you brought the sort of like the SIM duplication kind of thing. Into that conversation, because a lot of people think that when it comes to two-factor authentication, that it's fine just to be just for it to be like, send a message to my my cell phone or my mobile phone kind of thing, and that's fine. But the thing is, if you can, your phone can get compromised, your SIM can get compromised in a way without you realizing it, in that particular way. And in that sense, like, that particular type of two-factor authentication isn't, as safe as you think it is.
But again, this is just a little bit. Okay, of course, it's a breach. But to me, I feel like this is not really something serious. This is like, okay, if you are worried about cybersecurity and someone stealing your stuff, or identity theft, and any of these serious problems when it comes to hacking and hackers, right? This is not the thing. This is more similar to back in the 90s when some kid just figured out how to do war dialing. This is brute forcing. This is lolsec stuff. It's not really a directed attack. You should not.
It's not massively directed. The idea is the person out there isn't directly trying to attack you and discredit you and like basically destroy your life and your livelihood. Like, they're just in it for the money.
It's not even that. There's something that I learned being an edgy teenager back in the day and going on hacking forums, and something like this is going to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of other edgy hacker teenagers who've just tried these things for the first time, and you've just given them the biggest demo reel possible. They're going to all sit there and go through it, and I will not be shocked if this does have serious fallout ultimately. And it'll be one of those things where, yes, it'll be near impossible if Joe Bloggs gets hacked for Joe Bloggs to say it was because this bit of data was used here, which was leaked here by Facebook. Yeah, that you won't be able to ultimately point it back to that, but it may be the root cause. And but again, it is a serious issue.
Yeah, it's a serious issue. But again, I compared it to war dialing. And someone that is doing, say, war dialing the entire range of phone numbers in, say, Kent County in the UK, and now they know where all the computers actually picked up the phone, right? This is a useless piece of information unless you have a specific target, right? And this is similar. As a data thing, it's useless. But if you want to target something specifically, it's valuable that this exists, right? So you don't.
That's the point. That's the point we made initially, Caleb. It used to be that way, but because of the advent of things like credential stuffing, where you can try millions and millions and millions of accounts, people have got gigabit lines and literal server farms doing this. This data goes from. Yes, it is very valuable. If you're trying to target one particular person, you can go and look up their data and pull the things together. But using, I'm not going to call it AI because that's wrong, machine learning and things like that, now you can make the robot do that, and it goes from being specifically targeted to targeting everybody.
Yeah, but
I have no doubt that. Well, I know that even my Gmail, it has multiple attempted logins all the time.
And I don't want to cut you off here, Caleb. But we are kind of a little bit pressed for time. But like, you know, Spod did kind of like, you know, land on something that I really wanted to put out there. And you know, Sawyer actually put out there in chat earlier on. He preempted us this. But like, if you were concerned as to, you know, whether your information is out there in the public or has been leaked in the public in some way, shape, or form, like there is actually a website that you can go to called haveibeenpwned.com.
Pwned, come on.
Or pwned,
kitty speak.
Pwned, whatever. Like, have I been pwned? But essentially, you know, you enter an email or a phone number in there, and it will tell you whether it's been breached and where it's been breached, that kind of thing. You know, which kind of will help you in understanding, you know, like kind of where your level of security, you know, kind of is at the moment, and whether you need to sort of tighten up on like your security with regards to two-factor authentication, or like, you know, swapping and changing out and sort of like, you know, like changing passwords, that kind of thing. And to some degree in that regard, you know, using things like two-factor authentication for things like, you know, your Eve account, you know, you should be doing. And there is, you know, there's guides and, you know, by CCP about how to set up your two-factor authentication on your account that you definitely should go into. It says it uses the example of using a Google Authenticator for Windows, iPhone, or Android phones. You can use other authenticators like what's the other one that I use? Where's my thing?
Authy is another one.
Yeah, that's the one.
You can also use there's quite a few hardware keys these days that if you want to go the next step, you can basically lock down to a hardware device these kind of authenticators.
Yeah. And, you know, the other kind of thing that you can do as well in terms of buffing, you know, sort of buffing up your security is obviously using a password manager. When CCP was, you know, released a blog about a dev blog about account security improvements, they included a free trial, 6-month free trial for 1Password. Unfortunately, that trial has expired, so you won't get like a 6-month free trial from 1password.com. But, you know, there are a bunch of password managers out there that you can use. And it's like, I would recommend you use a password manager to basically stop you from having that issue of potentially having, you know, data breaches mean that like your credentials are used as in these credential stuffing kind of attacks to break into your accounts and to basically steal a bunch of shit. And
just real quick on people getting spooked by the Have I Been Pwned website. Mm-hmm. They don't store your input and they don't store passwords beyond. They essentially collect all of the known leaks, like this Facebook leak, for example. They grab all of that stuff and put it in a big, locked, encrypted database. And then if you just input something, they just bring you up the results. And they also do have a system where you can put in your password and it tells you whether your password's been leaked before. But again, the way that works is they do something called hashing, where they essentially translate your password into what appears to be gobbledygook. That is it's a mathematical equation that takes something and turns it into something else, where the input and the output will always be the same. So if you put in cat, you will always get F972. But figuring out the inverse is nearly impossible. So what happens is they do this within your browser. So at no point is anything actually listening to the password you're typing in, just a bit of local JavaScript in your browser. So that's all safe. And then they send this, think of it as encrypted, but it's beyond that. It's encoded and encrypted and flippity-doodad into such a way that it cannot be reversed realistically I'll put an asterisk on everything, but you don't have to worry about it. Yes, you can put your passwords into there. No, it's not going to steal it unless you've probably got a virus on your PC or something. But don't panic.
And I would
welcome to Tech with Dr. Spot, where we do flippity doodads.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that is a technical term, by the way. If you guys didn't know, flippity doodad is a technical term in cybersecurity. I'm glad you did mention sort of browser extensions to some degree as well, because I was going to say, in a really cheeky kind of way, you know, yeah, you may not get that 6-month free trial for 1password.com, but you know, if you have something like, say, Honey on your on your browser, you probably will be able to find something. You'll probably be able to find some kind of some offer or some kind of online sort of you know, token to be able to get some money off for some kind of thing.
Sponsor?
No, we haven't. This is my kind of like, you know, this is my kind of like sponsor sort of. This is my like, Honey, this is what this is what this is a free, this is a little free little plug for you, Honey. You know, that's what it is. Anyway, that about wraps up.
Honey is selling your data.
That about wraps up, you know, the show for tonight, for tonight, for whenever you're listening to this. Thank you very much for listening, and we will be in the Discord channel, in the I think we'll be in the public channel in Discord after the show. You guys want to chat about like any of the topics that we've had we talked about, or you know, anything else that's on your mind, as it were. So,
and if you want an ad on our ad breaks, get in touch with any of us on the Discord as well. And the requirements are pretty similar to AT tournament videos. But I think we should also allow CSM campaign videos, and the CSM is actually coming up soon. So if you have an interest in getting your name out there, get in touch with us.
I think maybe Brisk might have a campaign video, but I don't think it's going to be 15 seconds long. I think it'll be a little bit longer than that.
It'll be 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, with that, you know, definitely get in touch with us. But with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next week.